How much time you got? 5, 10?
Uh,
It's 6:15.
I mean, it's whatever we. Let's just go for it.
Let's do it. All right. What's up? Look at me. All right. So, what advice could you give to someone who's trying to do what you've done with music so far? Obviously, like, it's kind of mind blowing to me that you like do everything at home, your studio, computer, and like that's super inspiring to me because I'm a guitar player and like I've done the studio to get the full fucking band in there. It's a rack, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, off of that, would you say some advice?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the more skills you can develop and the more things you know how to do, the better off you'll be. Being able to do vocals or play an instrument is great, but if you learn how to record, you learn any basic marketing knowledge, you learn at least how to get your music on iTunes or Spotify. Super easy. I think there's a lot of super easy stuff out there that people just don't even attempt to learn. And then obviously the most important thing are the songs, having the best songs of anyone, because if you don't have the best songs, people don't listen to you. So sometimes it just takes writing 300 songs and 299 of them are suck, but the 300th one you finally get good at writing songs. So yeah, if you only write 5 songs and haven't tried anything beyond that, then don't be surprised if you're not taking off, I guess.
Perfect answer. So, where were you as a person before being in a band, and where do you feel you are now? Like, where is your mindset with the whole thing of music?
Totally. I think before the band, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Not even like a little idea. I wanted to try to do good in school. I wanted to be happy like everyone else, but I was definitely not always happy before, the band got where it was, and definitely, didn't have as much out of life. But now I feel like all my boxes are checked in life, and I'm just always excited to see what else we can do with music. It's definitely feel very excited now.
So, one thing that's always brought up is like the fact that touring musicians get to see the world that nobody else has ever been able to do. So bring that up with like maybe some places that you've hit that you probably wouldn't have went to.
Yeah, definitely. As far as the course of my life, I've gotten to see the Eiffel Tower. I've gotten to see the Grand Canyon. I've gotten to see the Hollywood sign, at least from a distance. Some of the Great Lakes, and I've been to just about every state minus Alaska and Hawaii. So I've definitely seen a lot of things I probably wouldn't have seen, and I'm definitely excited to see even more.
So, okay, this is a loaded question. But
Sure.
What is like a funny story that you have on the road that really like nobody's ever heard before? Like I've heard some crazy shit about people going to jail over bullet belts. Like, just give me something. It's like odd. It's kind of just funny.
This is definitely odd and funny. Like, I almost feel like this is an underwhelming answer, but I think on one of my first tours ever, we're still learning the policies of different drive-thrus, and me and someone I was touring with really wanted Taco Bell, so we tried walking through the drive-thru because the lobby was closed, and they just ignored us. We were there for a minute trying to talk to them, and they wouldn't talk to us. So eventually a car came up, and they're like, "Get in, we'll help you order." And we're like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, come on in." So we get in the stranger lady's car. Not strange, but we didn't know her to order Taco Bell. And they finally, talked to us because we were in a car. Then we parted ways, but she was, a very sweet lady. Yeah, we got our Taco Bell, and all it took was getting in a strange lady's car. So yeah, very strange story.
I bet the reason why I'm laughing so hard is I've definitely done that before. I've like been to the point where I'm like super hungry and I'm with
Yeah.
like there's nothing open except
Yep,
the fucking
exactly.
car. I don't have my car.
Exactly.
All right, so the last one is, what do you think is the most rewarding part about doing things DIY? Dude, your band is a perfect example of this. Like,
Yeah.
this is one of the biggest questions because, you know, it's kind of mind-blowing to me, like, watching your band, like, the older stuff, you know, it's just like, it was an evolution of, like, holy
Totally.
shit. Like, it's DIY, like, to the max,
Yeah.
you know, so what's your take on, like, DIY?
Yeah, sure. I think DIY anything is like, are you willing to work harder, or are you willing to delegate work to someone else, like pay for someone else to do the work for you? And in this case, DIY, if we're just talking about a record label versus not having a record label, is they give you an advance of money and they'll market your record for you in exchange for taking the vast majority of your royalties. So now Ben and I, as primary writers, get like the vast majority of the royalties, and which is a huge reward, but that means we have to work harder and market the records and make sure we save. Like a lot of our royalties, we just save and reinvest into the band for future things. So just making sure we don't spend all our royalties right away. We make sure to portion them out, similar to how like you'd get an album advance. If a record label gives you, some give you $1,000, some give you $100,000, whatever you want to invest in your album cycle, you need to make sure you put that aside and treat it like an album advance. So obviously in the beginning, we had to make our own album advance. We took, me and Ben together had like $2,000 that paid for our initial merch line, our initial album, stuff like that, and from there we just reinvested earnings into the band, and now the gap of royalties we don't have to reinvest and just treat as income grows. So that's rewarding, I think, because a lot of bands just give up their royalties just to say they're on a record label, or just to say they're getting a big advance that lasts them a couple of weeks or a month or whatever. So yeah, I'd say the rewarding part is just the financial freedom, financial independence.
I guess my last thing that I don't have noted is like, if you had to like pitch the idea to a band to get off a label and go DIY, how would you do it?
It's definitely easier with bigger bands, in my opinion, because a smaller band maybe sometimes should be on a label because they're either incapable of marketing their album or incapable of spending, or they just don't have the legitimacy to, like, sometimes having a label is nice. They represent you and you get to be associated with them and the other artists on the roster, which is really nice. But if they're already big and already are touring at the level they want to be touring, then I would say, hey, don't you want to be making more money than you are right now? That would be my main thing. But if it's like a small band, and they're trying to go for like a tiny label, I'd say just be independent at that point, unless you really need the money, like you just have no job and don't plan on getting a job to make money. Then I guess sure, just take the label's money. But overall, my selling point would be, get some financial independence. But at the same time, the legitimacy is nice, like being associated with the other bands on the label. And it's funny, we're on the Metal Blades Records tour, and we're the only band on the tour not on Metal Blade Records. So very funny.